started. So welcome to everyone who's joined us for this session where we're going to be talking about the undeniable benefits of developing your team's video skills and how to actually approach training, whether you're in a team or an organization, or maybe it's just yourself and you're looking to level up your skills. So we're going to be talking all things training today, and this is going to be an hour-long session, but we're going to have 10 minutes-ish at the end for Q&A. So if you think of any questions as we're going through, there is a dedicated questions panel in your GoToWebinar setup where you can put those in, and we'll come to them at the end to start working through them. We are also recording this session, so if you wanted to revisit anything afterwards, we'll send the recording out. That'll either be later this afternoon or tomorrow morning, so you can expect that in your inbox. As I just said a second ago, for all the recordings this week, any sessions you've registered for, you'll get them afterwards. So without further ado, let's introduce ourselves properly. So with me today on this panel is Alistair and Johnny. So Alistair is our Sparkle Business Development Manager, and he's worked with a lot of different organizations to help them understand exactly what their training needs are and how we can help them really get maximum value out of not just Videoscribe, but also video in general and how they're using it in their organization. And Johnny, some of you might already recognize from some of the other sessions, but he's also our head of customer success. Similar to Alistair, making sure that all of our customers get maximum value from the software and really delivering some of these training sessions to ensure that video is adopted across the organization and in the most effective way for them. So I'm really excited to have them both on today. I don't know if you both want to just say hi quickly.
Hi guys, nice to virtually meet you all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. So let's jump into the first question. So obviously there are some obvious benefits that come with training, but what would you each say is kind of the #1 benefit to getting extra training on video? So maybe if we start with Alistair.
Yeah, sure. I think that for me, one of the key benefits is that by kicking things off, when you're adopting any tool really, by kicking things off with training and understanding around what that tool is and what you're trying to achieve with it, it just accelerates the quantity and quality of, in this instance, creating videos. And the sooner that you get that done, the sooner you start to reap the benefits of what video can bring to your organization. As we all know, people pick up different skills at different paces. So just by aligning your whole team in sort of 1, 2, or 3 sessions, doesn't really matter what ability they are at that stage, but just sort of getting people on the same page at that point is a brilliant way of just, as I said before, reaping the benefits of what video can bring. So
Definitely. And Johnny, what would you say is the benefit?
Cool. So I'm obviously quite a big fan of training. It's one of the main things I do at Sparkle here. So I'm a big fan. So picking just one benefit is actually pretty tricky. But if you're forcing me, I'd have to say that I think that it's because it empowers the users. I think that it's the quickest way to get new users up to speed and to feel comfortable using sort of any new software. So yeah, I think it's really important to, if you want to sort of get the most out of any new sort of software that you've invested in, to make sure there's some sort of training or onboarding to make sure people can kind of get in there quickly and start actually using it and feel confident with it.
That's an important point, and probably even more important considering a lot of us, like us, are working remotely. So making sure that your colleagues have that confidence in what they're doing and feel comfortable is super important, because you might not pick up on those signals as you're not face to face. So definitely a really important point. And obviously we can't talk about the benefits without also mentioning, as Alistair was kind of picking up on, the way training can improve video outputs and what you're actually creating. So we've got 2 examples here. One on the left is very simple. It's actually one of our Videoscribe templates showing sort of what's possible from first logging into the software and just feeling your way way around and getting to grips with it, versus on the right we've got actually one of our Videoscribe award winners of 2020, Carol, who made this video about one of Seth Godin's speeches. She's actually speaking tomorrow, so if you want to catch that, you can. But yeah, it's just showing the kind of difference in what you can create with a bit more investment in understanding what Videoscribe can do. So we'll play both of those for you now so you can see.
Hi there, welcome to the basic whiteboard collage template, a template designed to get you making simple whiteboard collages in no time. We've provided an example here of the kind of collage you could create. Use the title of your topic as a backdrop, or use numbers or shapes to structure your scribe. Then, position elements around and within your backdrop pieces like this. Make sure you use elements related to your topic. Try changing the camera position to make your scribe more dynamic. You can also use camera elements like the ones we've placed to change the position of the camera without drawing any new elements. Once you're finished, remove the tutorial text and try exporting your scribe. Good luck!
So that was obviously the simple one, and now we'll show you what kind of magic you can create with a bit more investment.
Creativity is a choice. Our best work happens when we contribute something new, something generous, something that makes an improvement. But making a contribution isn't possible if we don't ship the work. You have the chance, whatever it is you do for a living, to go beyond where you are and figure out how to do work that matters, work you're proud of. It turns out that we've misunderstood creativity for a very long time, and that it's not reserved for a few, and it's not something to wish for or to be afraid of. It's ours whenever we're ready for it. Don't wait for permission. You can find your voice and share it. Figure out the change you seek to make and find a way to show up with your best work. It's not about painting or singing or poetry, but it's about all of these, because it's also about office work, meetings, and all the work that leaders need to embrace as well. And you can choose to be creative. But to count, it needs to ship.
So hopefully you can obviously see there's a big difference in kind of what's going on in those, but it really is just giving you an idea of what's possible with a bit of extra input and maybe help from us. So with that, let's talk, Johnny, why do you think some organizations do struggle to reach the full potential of video and really drive maximum value from it?
Cool. Am I off mute? Yes. So I think a lot of times it's because creating videos is perceived to be hard, and also learning new software is perceived to be hard. So people feel it's going to take a lot of time to become proficient, and this basically puts them off. Another reason is because, well, basically they're too busy and they don't feel they have time to commit to learning something new. But the fact is that Videoscribe is actually pretty easy, certainly to create things at the sort of easier end of the scale you showed there. But what that means is that a little bit of training can go a really long way in terms of getting them started and also helping them to see how easy it is. So I think the trick is to make sure you help people to get across that kind of learning hump, and that this gives them the confidence to actually start using it and you know, getting on with it.
So it's actually like more about misconceptions rather than anything else, because like you said, they can do it. It's just knowing that it's possible.
That's one of the reasons I love doing training, is because quickly people are like going from being a bit fearful of it to being like, oh great, I can do this, and they're sort of getting stuck in. It's just helping them to sort of get over that barrier, really.
Nice. And along with it, I know in the past we've kind of noticed some unexpected benefits for businesses training their teams. Ali, can you kind of talk us through those?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, the unexpected benefits of in specific to video skills that if you consider video as one entire subject, it almost acts as a one-stop shop. What I mean by that is not as a replacement to things that you're currently using, tools that you're currently using, but certainly another string to your bow, to coin the phrase. So, for example, PowerPoint presentations, obviously we're using slides, we've also used video, but just to mix things up and consider that your next presentation is just moving animation in the background as you speak. Another option is social media content. I know a lot of small businesses tend to use tools like Canva, but a tool like Videoscribe allows you to get the same results, get content out there, video animation. And also with for HR departments in particular, for example, onboarding new employees, you might want to explore using video to introduce them to the company, but also the company to them. And from personal experiences, obviously, as you said before, Naomi, I am in business development, so I'm that annoying salesperson that drops into your DMs every now and then, and I tend to use video because it's just a nice little opener. People, they see a play button and they just can't resist clicking play. So and we're not talking specifically about Videoscribe here, although it is our tool. We're just talking about video in general. It's just a fantastic tool to upskill your team, yourself. And I think that's really important as well to touch upon, is that another key benefit is it's an opportunity to unlock some creativity that may have not yet been found within your colleagues and employees. So creativity is becoming more and more of an sort of an accepted or an understood transferable skill in the workplace. So if you can unlock that just through developing and doing a deep dive into people's skill set, and if video can show that off, then fantastic. So yeah, I think there are a couple of key benefits. As Johnny said before, it's hard picking one, but yeah, I'd say that those are big ones.
And I think that's just massive, that even in what, like a 30-second answer, you've shown sort of 7 different ways that organizations can actually apply videos to so many different areas. And that also has a financial impact, because where we're talking about switching out one tool for another, or using video instead of like a suite of maybe other things, that is an actual real life saving that businesses can be making on all those different products. So definitely some extra wins along the way. So before you start training a team up on video, what would you say are the 3 kind of questions that you'd need to answer, say as a HR manager or a department head? What do you need to be thinking about before you launch into a training plan?
It's a good question. The first is your skill level. So before you jump into water, you sort of question, am I going to be able to swim in this or not? So understand your skill level, and that's not just in this instance using the Videoscribe tool. That's just sort of in general. I mean, you can sort of, I mean, you might have had some experience using Movie Maker once upon a time, or creating music, or sort of understanding how you can create a timeline of events in video. So consider that. But also, are they just new to the idea of storytelling, or just transferring information into a certain video, into a video format? So yeah, number one, understand the skill level and then set the precedence of that. So are you going to be going in from real basic, let's just work from the bottom up, or if you're slightly more advanced, then you can sort of base the training and the targets around that specifically. And that's when talking with people like Johnny comes in, because he's really great at understanding certain skill levels and then basing certain training around that. Number two is understand the goals that you're wanting to achieve with this. So it just helps align the team. I know I said that before, it's such a common phrase within businesses, but it is important. It just gives a focus. Why are you wanting to use video? Is there a specific reason? Is it just a sort of a ticking box exercise, or is there sort of end results that you want to get out of it? And finally, I'd say, how much time can you invest into this as a new avenue, a new project, a new tool? Is it going to be replacing something that you've already got in line, or is it going to be sort of an additional workload? And in any instance, yeah, the answers again will affect the training, because if it's additional workload, then you'll be looking to sort of, how can I create quick, sharp turnaround videos? And if it's actually going to be replacing, as I said before, I don't know, a handful of PDF documents, then that in itself is its own project, and that can help steer the focus and why you're wanting to turn to video in the first place. So, I don't know if Johnny has a different three, but yeah, from my perspective, I'd say they're quite important aspects.
No, I'd agree with that. Like Ali mentioned, we do go through a process with customers who are looking to do training with us. We call it the sort of training discovery process. So we're trying to make sure we understand all these things, and actually ask a few more than 3 questions in that process. But those are the key ones, yeah. So we need to understand the background of the people on the training, so how much experience they've got with making videos or presentations using other software, things like that. We also need to know how they're planning to use the software, what types of videos they want to make, what features they'd be interested in, things like that. So then we can sort of create a training session or a training program that suits those needs within, again, as Ali said, the sort of the time frames that they've got. So yeah.
Definitely. I mean, these are things that all on the surface sound so obvious, but when you are getting into the depths really quickly because you want to just upskill your colleagues quite quickly, it's easy just to forget about these things of just setting the parameters of the project and really defining those elements before you launch in and end up with something not quite what you expected at the end. So definitely super important to spend the time working through those. So I guess heading back to you, Johnny, because I know this is really your main area of expertise, is if you've got, say, a bigger group or a more diverse group of people, say, like Ali was saying, from different departments, like some comms people, sales, a whole group of people, how would you train them? What sort of strategies would you use to ensure they're all trained in the right way?
Cool. So again, this is going to depend on how many people, obviously, and also, you know, what they're going to be using the software for and all those sorts of things. But there are lots of options depending on those things. So the first thing we want to do is identify if there are different groups. So you've got a number of people to train, but are they basically all need the same training, or can you identify distinct groups within there, either based on the experience levels that they've got, or based on how they're going to use it. So there might be differences. So it's not necessarily across different teams or departments. It's more how they're going to use it and what their training needs are. So then, based on this, we can then set up sort of tailored training for each of those groups if necessary, and then set up different training streams. And you know, these are often quite simple, but for very big organizations, they can get sort of complex, where people are sort of moving across streams as they reach different stages. But so, and then as Ali said, we also then need to know how much time they can spend, each group can spend on training, so we can sort of match that. So a good example we had recently was we did some training for the University of Applied Sciences in the Netherlands. They actually adopted Videoscribe across the whole university, and we created a training program which covered basic and advanced sort of level topics which we ran courses several times over a number of months. And in fact, they decided to combine people from across all the different departments into the same sessions. So for each class, we'd have a mix of lecturers, PhD students, people from HR or marketing, all kind of attending the same sessions. So their skill level was pretty much the same, but they in fact wanted to use Videoscribe in different ways. So to create lessons, or to market the university externally, or for internal comms, all these sorts of things. But it meant that it was great for all these people to be on the same course, so they could see what the other teams are doing, they could share their ideas, and also they shared their videos quite a lot, so that made it really interesting. So ideally, like that, you want to provide some level of training for all the users. That's the ideal, but obviously sometimes this isn't possible, so there are other solutions. So for example, we can identify a group of mentors and then focus on training the mentors to a particular level, and then they would then support the rest of the team and provide support and answer questions and things. And we can even create like training programs to then support their own ongoing internal training if necessary.
Nice. And just a quick one on the train the trainers. Would you kind of recommend that you ask for volunteers who would be wanting to act in that role, or would you kind of suggest picking it on a skills basis of who's the most sort of advanced at the moment?
Yeah, well, that applies maybe more for mentors. So often mentors, you ask them for volunteers, and you obviously want people who are going to sort of pick things up quickly and be good at learning and teaching as well. For train the trainers, it's often when companies have their own sort of internal training departments, and then we often train up the people from within those departments. But yeah, it could be anyone across the organisation potentially.
Cool. So you've got options then, depending on kind of the resources you've got in your business and the characters that you're working with to bring it together. Cool. So let's move on to kind of a difficult area that we know people don't always love change, and I'm sure if you're asking a colleague to develop their video skills and maybe they don't have much experience, and like we said, they're a little bit nervous about how it's going to go, how would you kind of introduce video in an approachable way that's going to get them excited about creating video content?
Cool. So I think any project which introduces any sort of change is going to be potentially met with some resistance, which is understandable. So I think the key is to have good communication in place. So making sure that the users are involved earlier on, so they're aware of what's happening, and also when to expect any change, and also to communicate why it's happening and what the benefits will be for them and for their teams. And the other thing is to provide them with resources to help them to adapt to the change quickly. So these can be things like emails, documents, presentations, or access to online training and tutorials. But ideally, it would involve some form of live interactive training, I think.
Nice. And I guess when we're talking about sort of the benefits, it could be the business benefits like we've talked about that you're sharing, but also I think the personal benefits, like Ali was kind of talking about creativity, so it's like showing them what they could develop personally. So it's their creativity, it's video skills they can maybe add to their CV or could help them get a promotion. I think as well, sort of tying it back to how they can personally benefit from the training, not just the organization, which we know is sometimes more appealing than the business saving a bit of money or some of those other things. So yeah, do you have any points to add, Ali, on that from your own experiences?
Yeah, I'd say it's an interesting question, because I don't know if I was working in an organization and my boss or manager said, hey, we're thinking about learning how to create videos, I'd be well up for it. So I don't need much convincing that way. And I think that's actually an important note to make, that video is exciting. I think it's, shouldn't be too scared to introduce a change. Like if you're watching this and you are considering adopting a tool like Videoscribe or another video tool, then yeah, be confident that it is an exciting change. You're not taking a step back, it's very much taking a step forward, and it's easy to motivate people around you when things like video content.
Yeah, and I think maybe also showing examples and kind of giving people an idea of what's possible, almost like we have in this session, to show them where they could be, so people have got something to sort of picture in their mind of where they're going from where they are now to the future. So so yeah, lots of different ways to kind of get people excited. So we've kind of talked about developing video skills, but obviously we firstly don't want all the videos to look exactly the same when we're training people. We'd be training them, I'm sure, in a sort of similar style, but we don't want the outcome to all look identical, and we also probably want them to match our brand guidelines. So how would you start kind of introducing those elements as well to make sure that the videos your team starts creating do kind of tick all the boxes for you?
Yeah, you sort of want the videos to look the same but not be the same, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So you're absolutely right. Very important that if you're adopting a tool like Videoscribe, that it's very much we're big believers when an organization adopts Videoscribe. It's fantastic that we know we can see what a Videoscribe video is, but it's not about Videoscribe being part of your company. It's actually your company becoming part of Videoscribe, if that makes sense. So yeah, establish those brand guidelines, set out some rules around how you want these videos to look, and that can start from the library images that you choose. Obviously, Videoscribe has an extensive library, but I always say this, you're not limited to those. You have the ability to create your own images, add your own image library, your own iconography, which is amazing, because it can completely transform a video. Our library images are fantastic, but they might not be in line with what you're trying to achieve, and that's absolutely fine. So be flexible to that. It doesn't just stop there. You can add your own music, create your own template. So if you found a formula that works for a particular topic or department, so let's say you've got a sales video that really works. Again, I'm going to coin the sales phrase. You can say, hey, look, this is the template I use. This is the branding. I use this logo here. It's got the background color is on brand with us as well. And that's really important. So if you want it to look as if it's a stylish video from your organization brand guidelines, and not sort of a standard Videoscribe video with sort of library images, etc. Yeah, all of that can be established again within the training. So you can chat to, in the instance of Videoscribe, you can chat to myself and Johnny and ask all those questions. Can we add our own music? Can we have this image drawn? We want this logo here. We like this style. We don't necessarily want that hand holding that pen. Can we actually have it holding a pen with our company branding on? All these things are editable. I've said it before, but that's the beauty of Videoscribe in particular, is that as much as we've got templates within Videoscribe, Videoscribe itself is actually its own template for video creation, in a very meta sort of way. Yeah, it's hugely important. You can ensure that by working with Sparkle Studio. That's what the guys are there for. They can create images. They can introduce your fonts, your colors, anything and everything you need. But you also have the ability to do that yourself. So they're not limited to.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, you're just really highlighting how granular or high level you can get with it, just depending on what kind of suits you and how defined you want to be with it. But I think absolutely back to your point on that, if someone in the audience is watching your video, you want them to instantly recognize you, and that could be with colors or logo, or it could just be your slogan or the style of the video that just kind of screams your brand and they can recognize that. But yeah, definitely all great points. Do you have any bits to add, Johnny?
Yeah, I was just going to say that we can also incorporate all that kind of stuff within the training. We've often done that where we're actually making sure we're presenting their own internal guidelines and making sure that that's covered in the training, and also other processes and things like that. So if they've got their own images, we can show where those images are on their drives and how to access those. And also sometimes they have particular ways they need to create videos or share videos, so we can tailor the training to actually sort of reinforce any guidelines or processes which are sort of used by the company.
Nice. So yeah, you're reinforcing those internal bits and probably supporting and taking a lot of the pressure off of the facilitator or whoever's kind of launching the training, to make sure that all those bits are done correctly from their perspective too. So ideal. Let's move on to the next question, which is, what else should you have in place to prepare for successful training? So besides those potential brand bits, what else should you make sure you've got sorted before you kind of launch your training plan?
The obvious one is make sure everyone has access to the tool that you're going to be using, in this instance, Videoscribe. So that's just a simple download and login. Make sure that they've sort of already had a bit of a play around, so just had a bit of a basic understanding. Something that Johnny might elaborate on actually is he likes to test some of the people that come on our training sessions by just saying, have a bit of a story prepared and ready, and that can be a story on Little Red Riding Hood or the photosynthesis process, whatever it may be. Just have something that sort of focuses you in on what you're going to play around with when you start choosing your imagery, because it's very easy to spend the first 15-20 minutes just looking through the image library thinking, oh, that's cool, I could do something like that. But if you just sort of have a bit of an idea and a focus, and you can make it, I mean, I know I used examples like Red Riding Hood and things like that, but you can also make it specific to what you're actually going to be using Videoscribe for. As you've mentioned before, what's the goal, what's the aim, kick off that process. So sort of come equipped with a bit of a script, and also come with an open mind, come with the excitement to get creative and learn something new, and adapt.
So yeah, I agree with that. I'm very keen when we have a training session, we've got a limited amount of time. We want to get straight in and get on with it and sort of make the most of that time. So that's why we always emphasize make sure you download it, installed, and you can log in, and you've looked at some tutorials. So people are as kind of ready as possible, so we can just really get into some very practical, useful training. And as Ali says, we certainly for the basic level training, we ask the participants to prepare a script. It could be business related, could be anything really. It's just an example script that they can then use to build their first video. So most of our training is pretty hands-on. So we'll sort of demo and show how things work. And then all the participants will have a go, and they'll actually step by step learn how to basically build their first video. So if they've got their script already prepared, that just saves that bit of time, and we can again get straight on with the next step of the process.
Definitely. And I guess just to add a super obvious one, I know we kind of covered it with Videoscribe, but also just devices, making sure people have kind of the right spec laptop it's not crazy old, and they're not going to get full benefit out of Videoscribe, things like that. So from a sort of IT perspective, just checking those boxes as well.
And a good Wi-Fi connection. Because as you can imagine, since since a year ago now. Can't believe we're saying that, but everything has gone online. So Johnny's sessions have been online. So yeah, a good Wi-Fi connection, but everyone's sorted that anyway, just because we're all remote at the moment.
Definitely. It's those little things that seem so obvious, but in the heat of just trying to get everything sorted, it could easily be forgotten, and you've got someone who thinks they can use it on a phone or something like that. So having everything in place. So we've focused heavily on video creation, training on actually how to create an animation of your own or a video of your own, but do you think there are any sort of complementary topics that could be covered in a training session that would benefit organizations?
So this will often depend on their existing skills again. So what people have already got experience with. So in some cases they're already familiar with creating videos using other tools, and so all we need to do is learn how to do that using this Videoscribe in this case. But a lot of the time we're teaching people who are new to video making, which makes sense because you don't need a lot of experience to pick up Videoscribe and start using it. So that we're often starting with people who basically are used to creating presentations using something like PowerPoint, but sort of not necessarily much beyond that. So in these cases, we would typically spend a bit more time covering things like how to develop a script or a storyboard, and also how to sort of translate any ideas you've got into visual components, because they may not be quite so familiar with that sort of stuff. And then at the other end of the scale, we have quite a lot of more advanced modules, which covers kind of advanced camera work, some of the stuff you saw in that example video earlier on, layering different images, morphing, stuff like that. And also using third-party software alongside Videoscribe. So for example, Ali mentioned creating your own images. So we teach courses on how to use things like Illustrator to create your own images, own SVG images, which then draw really well in Videoscribe, how to do that. And then also how to create and edit your own audio, your voiceover and everything, and how to do that using, again, third-party software.
It's nice. So you could kind of mix and match those extra elements depending on where the skills are currently at, or even kind of phase it, I guess, in a staged plan to add those bits on. Once you've got that course all sorted, you can kind of add on extras. Perfect. So next question, I guess, sort of to round this off, although I do have a couple of extra questions because it's kind of got me thinking as we've been going through. But I guess main question for this would be, what would your #1 piece of advice be for someone looking to invest in Videoscribe for their team? To both of you.
Johnny, you go first, Johnny.
All right. So I'm sort of thinking, linking it back to sort of some stuff we've said already. I'd say don't just think about sort of the number of users you need or the number of licenses you need. Think about it as a mini project. It's obviously not a big complex project, but think of it as a mini project and think about all the other aspects involved. So this includes, like the communications we mentioned before, so making sure everyone's aware of what's going on and have resources, and then make sure the users have access to sort of good onboarding or training to help them get up to speed quickly and obviously get the most out of the software.
Perfect.
Yeah, and to elaborate on that, I think the main thing for me is just boiling down to the why. Why do you want a tool like Videoscribe? Why do you want to invest? Is it for one reason? Is it for a number of reasons? Is it for outreach? Is it for internal communications? Boil down on that question, on that why. Communicate with your team. Explore that together, and yeah, let that then sort of dictate your next steps and how you invest and how you go about supporting that investment with the training with experts like Johnny, and that will really help focus. It sort of comes back to the first question I answered, is once you've very easy just to sort of purchase a new tool like this and just say, right, off you go, make me something. But just giving that added focus to your team and helping them understand what the why is and what you're trying to achieve, I think that's key. It just gets people on board, and it makes the investment worthwhile.
Definitely, I guess it just helps answer all of those further questions, because you can just keep coming back to, does this help us achieve this objective or this goal? Cool. So that is the end of our main questions. I have got a couple of others that I've kind of been thinking of as we're going through, but once we've just jumped into those, we'll be heading to the Q&A. So it's just a quick reminder that if you want to add any questions in, we will come to them in a couple of minutes time. I can see we've had a couple already, but yeah, get them in there. So one thing I was just thinking about was, how would you kind of get buy-in from senior management to invest in a training project? I know we've talked about a couple of the benefits, but I guess for someone thinking, I want to have this in my organization, but I'm not really sure how to pitch it to management to get the buy-in, what would your advice be?
Do you want me to go, Johnny?
I can go. I think it's the same with any software investment. It's all about, wanting it to be successful, wanting it to achieve its goals, and not just thinking of it as, okay, it's going to cost this much to buy a certain number of licenses and the rest will all happen. It's always a good idea to think about the whole thing, make sure that that people are bought into it. You've got people who are going to advocate for it and things like that. You mentioned about sharing videos, so we've got lots of good examples where people have had their free trials, created some videos, created some examples, and then shared them internally. And that's then everyone realize, okay, yeah, cool, I can see. And they've said, I did that in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or whatever. So, and then making sure that, the training is involved as well. So you're making sure that people are going to get whatever training they need for them to start using the software nice and quickly and get on with actually using it and being productive.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'd say what's wonderful about Videoscribe in particular is that it's a really affordable tool initially, just to sort of get you off the ground. And there's also a 7-day free trial, obviously, and you can use that time to sort of show off a bit of a proof of concept. Look, as Johnny said, I've created this. It took this amount of time. These are the results from it. I know that a lot of people, managers, want to see, well, what are the results? What's it going to bring? What's the return on investment? And that doesn't have to be an external one. Again, that can just be from an internal perspective, from a communication standpoint. But yeah, just a bit of a proof of concept that I've achieved this by creating this 30-second video, and it's an outreach to this many people. I really feel if I can be fully equipped with all the tools and the knowledge around how to make these videos better, more exciting, more on brand as well, then yeah, we'll see some real results. And I think that should be concrete enough reason as to why.
Yeah, I think that is really powerful, having that proof of concept, basically, like you said, that here is the proof that it will actually work, with some solid examples before you even talk about any extra investment. Cool. So one other question before we get into the Q&A. I can see we've had a couple more questions come through, but I'm sure some people will be wondering, is there any way to monitor the results of the training? So whether that's kind of employee output, so the actual quality and quantity of videos they're creating, or whether it's looking at the results of those videos. Obviously that'll depend on how they've used it, but I guess just highlighting some of the key kind of things people can be monitoring to sort of evaluate that return on investment.
So one thing you could do is, so training is, as we've said, is partly about giving people the confidence to actually use the tool and to learn more about it by themselves. So one thing you can do is just do a questionnaire, so to ask them before the training how confident they feel, and and those sorts of things, and then afterwards assessing sort of how the training has helped them to feel more confident to do certain things. So that's one thing, just making sure that the people have got over that sort of hurdle and now feel confident that they can use it. But then, yeah, obviously the other thing is to actually look at what they're doing, how many videos they're producing, or how long it takes them to do videos, and the quality of those videos. It's a bit subjective, but you should be able to see the actual quality of the videos output improve.
Nice. Would you add any thoughts to that, Ali?
I'd say, yeah, it's sort of handed answer really. You're looking at, yeah, as Johnny said, the internal results, but also you can have a look at how your videos are, how successful they are from an outreach standpoint. I mean, you don't really have to have the most fantastic data in the world to understand how well a video is done. And I think Facebook and LinkedIn actually tell you how many views a video has now just there on the page. And an example of this, actually, I hope my brother doesn't mind me saying this, but my older brother, he runs a not-for-profit organization up in Stroud, and he's done video before, sort of live video on his phone. And I spoke to him. I said, why don't you play around with Videoscribe, upload a video and see how that changes? And I think up until I think the max views that he had on any video that he posted on their Facebook page was 2,000. And he did an explainer video using Videoscribe, talking about how they're going to still be able to operate during lockdown and situation with COVID-19, and that shot up to 60,000 views. So I don't know what percentage increase that is, but I mean, that in itself is its own sort of results-based success that shows what video can do. And then off that, you can then say, well, let's go get 100,000, let's go get 150,000. So you can develop your skills and sort of A/B test. Why did that work? Why didn't that work? And just constantly evolve your process.
Definitely. I mean, that is a super powerful result. And I think, like you said, even if you're showing a video to Vimeo, YouTube, any of these platforms, they'll give you those basic metrics that you can start reporting on. Cool. So I have just been keeping an eye on the question box, and we've had a question from Nicole, who's in Dallas, Texas. Hello to you. So Nicole has said, my role is a training specialist. Our group has been using Videoscribe for a few years. I would like to know, what are some third-party products that work well with Videoscribe?
For you, Johnny.
Okay. So it depends what kind of things you want to do. So for audio, I mentioned audio. So if you want to sort of get a bit more advanced with what you're doing with audio and editing, your voiceover, to cut out mistakes, or to cut out pauses, or to extend pauses, things like that, or to bring the volume of the audio down at certain point, the music down at certain points. We recommend Audacity for that. So that's a free bit of software. There's lots of software that could do that kind of stuff, but we tend to use Audacity. And the other one I mentioned, which is very popular, is creating your own images, and Illustrator. We use Illustrator to do that, but also Inkscape is a good one. So that's another free tool which you can do exactly the same sort of thing using that.
I think we have got some advice on those as well, haven't we, Johnny, in either your course or in a couple of blogs about using those tools.
We've actually got a new course coming up, hopefully very soon. So I don't know if any people have seen the Udemy courses, but we've got courses on there at basic level and advanced level. And there's a third one coming out which will cover those two topics, in fact.
Cool. So yeah, we've got extra bits that you can check out. So we've had another question from Ken, who it's a slight bit of a topic change, but it's basically, he's asking if you can infuse a Videoscribe video clip into a bigger YouTube video. or can you add a YouTube video clip into a Videoscribe video? So I guess kind of thinking about more live action integration, what would your advice be for either of those ways?
So again, you need to use third-party software. So you can bring GIFs into Videoscribe, so short little GIF clips. So if it's just a short video, you could turn it to a GIF. But otherwise, you do those kind of things in some other third-party tool. And so you could output the video from Videoscribe and then either add in impose on top of that the extra video you want to include, or if you're using the Videoscribe as like an overlay, you can there's one of the options to export as a PNG sequence, and what that does is it actually creates a folder with just one image, PNG image per frame of the video, and they would have transparent backgrounds. So then you could then import that into your other video tool and have it like as a overlay. So you could have a video and then you could have hands drawing text and pictures around the actual video. Yeah, so you can do all that sort of stuff.
Again, we do have a full guide on that you can access. We can share it in the follow-up email if you're interested in that, because it walks you through that step by step, like Johnny was just describing. So another question we've had is, Ken's just replied saying that sounds advanced. We promise it is easier than it probably sounds. Once you've done it once, you will completely know how to do it. So we've had another question asking, what types of training do we offer? Maybe if you can just give a quick rundown of some of the different options.
Cool, yeah, nice one. So first thing is there are some free tutorials. So there's I think 5 of them. They're very short, sort of getting you started ones. So we always recommend everyone has a look at those, and that kind of covers the basics and sort of sets you off. The next level of training is we've got some courses on Udemy, which I mentioned. So currently there's 2 courses, a basic one and an advanced one. So that's another place you can go. And then the other side of it is what we've been talking quite a lot here about is more customized training. So that's where we would set up a day course or a half a day course or whatever it is, normally split over a number of sessions these days. So a day course is typically 3 2-hour sessions split over a number of days. And then we would tailor the content to whatever you wanted. So all the things we've mentioned here, including how to export PNG sequences and do that sort of stuff, we can cover whatever you need on those.
Perfect. So John's just asked if we can send the links to the free 5 tutorials. So we will add those into the follow-up email along with all the other bits we've just mentioned, so that you've got those there. But yeah, let us know any other questions. I can see we've had a couple of other comments that we can pick up on. But yeah, if you have any
just a quick one on the Udemy courses. We give a nice discount. I think it's 74% to our subscribers. So once you're a subscriber, you get that. But I'm pretty sure we could send that link out as well, so that you can all get access to those at the discount rate.
Nice. And John is also wanting to combine live action, like talking heads videos, with Videoscribe. So those links that we just talked about for combining the two will be perfect for you as well, because it will cover exactly that. And we've got a full example in there, so you can see exactly what that would look like. We've just had another question from Nicole asking roughly about price ranges for tailored training. I don't know if there's any info you can give on that now, or whether we can follow that up offline.
That's one
we can. Sorry?
That's one for you.
I mean, we can follow up online. It's one of those variables, and it depends on how long, how much, how many members in the team that you want to. So I'm happy to pick that up offline if you want to. But if anyone has any questions about that, feel free to message me and I can.
Perfect. Well, yeah, Nicole said great. So yeah, we will get in contact with you separately, Nicole, to discuss that, because I know we've just produced some new info about them. So I'm sure that'll be easy to send over. And I guess while we're on that, we'll just remind you that if you do have any extra questions after this session, or you want to reach out to any of us, I've put our marketing email address on there that we'll all be monitoring. So if you have anything coming through, you can reach us there, or if you wanted to speak to Alistair directly, we can share his email in the follow-up. But yeah, so I think with that, we will kind of wrap up here, because we are heading rapidly towards the end of our session, and we know you've probably got another video call to get onto in this interesting lockdown world. So thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to sit with us as we chat through all things training, and we hope you found it useful. As I said, we will share all the links we've discussed and the recording either later today or tomorrow morning, so you'll have all of that. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you hopefully on another session soon. We have a couple more today and then more throughout the rest of the week, so be sure to register for any extras that catch your eye. But other than that, thank you to Alistair and Johnny for today, and thank you all for joining us. We will see you again soon. Thanks.
Yes.